She cried out in the darkness, "It hurts too much," and the cowboy leaned close and whispered, "That's why I'm here." The pain came in waves, cruel and unrelenting, stealing her breath and her pride alike. She clutched the edge of the wagon bed, knuckles white, teeth clenched so hard her jaw shook. The night air was cold, sharp with sage and dust, and the stars above seemed too distant to care. She had tried to be quiet. Women on the trail were expected to be quiet, expected to endure, expected not to slow the world down with their suffering. But the pain did not ask permission. It tore through her body like a storm breaking open dry land. "I can't," she whispered. "It hurts too much." Most men would have stepped back at that. Some already had. The cowboy did not. He crouched beside the wagon, his hat low in his hands, his voice steady and close, meant only for her ears. "That's why I'm here," he said. She looked at him through tears and sweat, barely seeing his face, only the shape of him against the lantern glow. He was not young. His coat was worn thin at the elbows, his hands rough and scarred. A man shaped by miles and hard choices. Not the kind who spoke softly unless he meant it. The wagon train had stopped hours earlier than planned. The trail boss had argued. Said the pass was still a day away, said stopping here was foolish. But the cowboy had swung down from his horse and said she wasn't moving another inch. "She's having the baby," he'd said simply. That should have been enough. It wasn't. "She ain't your wife," someone muttered. The cowboy's eyes had gone cold. "She's someone's," he replied. "And she's in pain." So they stopped. Not out of kindness, but because no one wanted to challenge the way he stood there, solid as a fence post driven deep. Now the night had swallowed the camp, and most had retreated to their wagons, grateful it wasn't them. A woman older than the rest had tried to help earlier, then shaken her head and stepped away, fear in her eyes. "It's bad," she whispered. "Too long." That was when the crying started. The woman in the wagon was called Clara. She had lost her husband 2 winters back, buried him under frozen ground with her own hands. She had joined the train because there was nothing left behind her but ghosts. The child inside her was all she had left of love, and now even that felt like it might be taken. "I can't do this," Clara sobbed. "I'm not strong enough." The cowboy leaned closer, his presence steady, unshaken by the blood, the fear, the raw truth of it. "You don't have to be strong forever," he said. "Just for this moment. I'll hold the rest." Another wave hit, worse than the last. She screamed, a sound that tore free before she could stop it. Somewhere, a horse snorted nervously. The wind carried the sound across the plain. "I'm scared," she said when it passed, her voice broken. "What if I don't make it?" He did not lie to her. "Then I'll remember you," he said. "And I'll make sure your child knows who his mother was." Her eyes snapped to his. "You promise?" He nodded once. "On my life." That was when she believed him. Hours dragged by, slow as punishment. He fetched water, warmed cloth, spoke to her when the silence grew heavy and frightening. He told her about the land ahead, about rivers that ran clear and valleys that caught the morning light just right. He spoke of nothing grand, only of tomorrow, because tomorrow was something she could reach for. At one point, she grabbed his arm, nails digging into his sleeve. "Don't leave," she begged. "I'm not going anywhere," he said, without hesitation. Near dawn, when the sky began to pale and the cold crept deeper, her strength faltered. Her voice grew small. "I can't feel my legs," she whispered, terror rising again. The cowboy swallowed hard. He had seen men die quieter than this. He had buried friends with less struggle. This was different. This mattered in a way that cut deeper. "Look at me," he said. She did. "You're not alone," he said. "You hear me? Not now. Not ever again." The final pain came like fire. Her cry broke, then turned into something else. A sharp, new sound filled the air, thin but fierce. A baby's cry, alive, angry at the world. For a moment, Clara did not understand. She stared, breath hitching, afraid to hope. The cowboy lifted the small, slick bundle carefully, like something holy and fragile. "You did it," he said softly. "He's here." Tears streamed down her face, mixing with sweat and dust. "I lived." He smiled then, just a little. "You did." The camp woke to the sound of new life. People emerged quietly, ashamed of their earlier distance, offering cloth, water, awkward smiles. The trail boss cleared his throat and said they could rest another day. Clara barely noticed. She held her son against her chest, feeling his warmth, his tiny breath. The pain was still there, but it had changed. It no longer felt like an enemy. It felt like proof. The cowboy stayed close, turning away when she needed privacy, returning when she called his name. He did not take credit. Did not act like a hero. He simply stayed. Later, when the sun was fully up and the danger had passed, Clara looked at him with tired eyes. "Why me?" she asked. "You didn't have to do this." He considered the question for a long moment. "I was once left alone when I needed someone," he said finally. "I promised myself I wouldn't do that to another soul if I could help it." She nodded, understanding more than he knew. When the train moved on days later, Clara rode stronger, her son wrapped safely against her. The cowboy rode beside the wagon until the road forked. "You coming with us?" she asked, a flicker of hope in her voice. He shook his head. "My road bends another way." She reached out, gripping his hand. "I'll tell him about you," she said. "What you did." He squeezed once. "Just tell him he was worth staying for." He turned his horse and rode into the wide land, leaving behind no monument, no claim, only a life saved and a woman who would never forget the voice that answered her pain in the dark. And long after the trail dust settled, Clara would remember the moment she thought she could not endure another second, and the cowboy who leaned close and whispered the words that carried her through. "That's why I'm here."